Start your own business. H.E.N. Gustavus Swift, a youngster in knee breeches, dressed and sold his first calf to the Fisher folk or Cape Cod. He laid the foundation of the largest meat packing business in the world. The desire to make money, to have business of his own, was a driving force in the makeup of young Swift. In Barnstable he was known as a chap with a lot of get-up aid go to him. So it was not surprising that when he felt the desire to make money, he didn't waste his time wishing, but took his courage in his two hands and started in dressed beef business in his dad's backyard. No doubt there were other young men in Barnstable who wanted to make money too, but while they were wonder how they could make it, Gus Swift cut the Gordian knot. It meant work for him. It was not a pleasant way to make money. There was the possibility of his not being able to sell his calf after he had dressed it. He had to walk miles in order to market his veal, for Cape Cod in those days was a spread out sort of place. But Swift didn't care. He wanted the money. The work, the walking and the adventure were fun. And because he regarded making money as fun instead of work, he later was able to come to Chicago and start the great Swift packing business. How different from the average young men of today. They are usually more interested in having a good time than they are establishing themselves in business or their own. Being in business is so confining, so they concentrate on enjoying themselves, serene in their philosophy that tomorrow is another day. If these people, and they aren't all young people either, worked half as hard at making money as they do at having a good time, they would be rich. Then there are people who are willing to work and do work hard at making money, but they aren't successful because they lack a target. They are like chap who hunts big game with a shotgun. They do a lot of shooting, but they bag very little game. Next to being willing to pay the price of success in hard work, the most important thing is to have a definite, clear-cut objective. Since it is necessary to crawl before you walk, it is suggested that you make that objective $1,000. Now you may say, why stop at $1,000? Why not make it $1 lakh? While there is merit in the idea of setting up your sights high, there is such a thing as shooting at the moon. Set an objective that you know you can attain. Having attained your first objective, you can then consider what your next objective will be. Remember that after you start in business, you are going to run afoul of many discouragements. While it looks easy now, it may not 2 months from now. If you have as an objective a mark that you can almost reach out and touch, it will help you to carry through this period of discouragement. The story of money. Since this is a book about making money, and money will be mentioned frequently, it might be in order to get it clearly fixed in our minds what money is. Money itself is no good. You cannot eat it. You cannot wear it. You cannot use it for much or anything except to exchange for things which you need. That is why it is called a medium or exchange. Money can be anything. In the early days of the West, whiskey was used for money. A farm was advertised as being worth so many barrels of whiskey. Beads were used by the Indians as a medium or exchange. The island of Manhattan was bought from the Indians for a few beads. The first use of coins as money antedates Christ. To save people the trouble of having to weigh each coin to determine its value, the government stamped them with its mark. They could then be passed in exchange without using scales, although even today, banks in Great Britain weigh all gold coins presented to them to determine the weight. One of the first countries to use credit money as a medium or exchange was England. People took their silver to the exchequer and received in exchange a tally stick. Notches were cut in this stick according to the number of pounds of silver loaned to the government. These tally sticks were about 3/4 of an inch square and about 10 inches long. After being notched, the stick was split in half, and one half was hung in the exchequer, and the other half given to the person loaning the silver. At first, these tally sticks were used as rights only, but after a time people exchanged them for things they needed. Then the exchequer issued tally sticks notched for even number of pounds of silver: 1 pound, 5 pounds, 20 pounds and so forth. Thus were much more convenient than carrying around the actual silver. Eventually the tally stick was superseded by paper receipts, the forerunner of our present paper money. The big advantage of the tally stick was that no two sticks were notched in the same way, so that when the owner or a tally stick called at the exchequer to collect the notching on his tally stick certified to his ownership of the silver, it remained for John Law, the eminent Scotch banker, to carry money to its next stage of development. Pieces of paper secured by various kinds of assets, and too often by nothing at all. It is important to know how our present system of money grew, so you will understand its true place in our scheme of business. When you determine to make $1,000, you are not thinking of 10 $100 bills so much as you are thinking in terms of what you can buy with those bills. And the same is true of those from whom you get money. You both talk about money as though money was all important, but actually you are exchanging services. So your success in making your first $1,000 will depend upon your ability to make or do something of definite value to society, which people want more than they want the money it will cost them. In the years gone by, there was money in making and selling carriages. Based on figures alone, it might seem like a good thing to start in the carriage business, but even the most casual investigation will show the folly of doing so. The public today needs low-priced airplanes, automobiles operated with fuel oil and similar things. So other things being equal, if two men are in business today, one making carriages and the other making diesel automobiles, it is probable that while the man making carriages might make bare living out of his business, he would never make any big money. Hey, might be every bit as smart, even a better businessman, but society is not willing to exchange money for better horse-drawn carriages, but it will for automobiles which will run 100 miles to the gallon or crude oil. The first step in making money, it is easier to make money in some localities than in others. There is, for example, the Ogden hardware merchant who became rich selling shovels during the California gold rush. He was quick to see that with people pouring into the West digging everywhere for gold, they would need a lot of shovels. So he rode back east and bought all shovel he could get. It was no trick to sell them. All he had to do was to advertise that he had shovels to sell, and the prospectors took them away from him at fancy prices. That kind of merchandising does not require any skill. Neither does it require any knowledge of business principles. But the gold rush is over. The West has been settled. To be successful in business today, you need more than a stock or merchandise. You have to know how to sell goods at a profit. 9 out of every 10 men who start in business today fail because they cannot measure up to those requirements, especially the last part of the formula. So the first step in starting a business or your own is to know something about it. You need not know all about it, but you must know something about it. Fortunately, much of the knowledge you need may be found in books and trade periodicals. The manufacturers of the equipment which you will need to get started are usually able to furnish you with essential information. The federal and state governments have publications of value to you. This is all experience which you can buy very inexpensively, yet it is experience that has costed others much time and money. So read everything published about the business you attain to start to get combined experience or others and begin your plans where they left off. You will find many people who will laugh at the idea of learning how to make money in books. They will tell you that business success depends upon inherent trading ability and action. They will cite men who never read a book in their lives and still made lots of money in business. Do not be influenced by thus views. No man ever started in business for himself who did not shortcut the time it took him to become established by reading about what others had done. When you read a book about business, it is just as though you were invited into the home of the author and sat down with him and talked over your problems. Only those who think they know all there is to be